Hey everybody, welcome to episode 2. Can't believe I have 2 of these already. Look at that. Look how fancy. So I promised you I would show you the meme that my brother Paul made, and I didn't realize that you can't post pictures in the comments. So I'm going to pause here in a minute and show it to you so that you can see it, and hopefully that'll work. And then today's episode is going to be about the goals that I've made since I've come back to playing pipes, and sort of what I'm hoping to achieve. So, it's funny. I do this for a living. I show, professors how to use technology, and we have a podcast studio at school, but I just want to be in my kitchen. I just want to be talking to you this way. I could probably be a lot more fancy with all the equipment that we do have and that I have at my disposal, but this is working for me. So hopefully it's working for you. So I want to show you his meme, and I want to tell you why I'm doing this podcast series. So there is a Patreon link down below that you can click on if you want to support me. My goal is to purchase a set of David Nail bagpipes. I'd love to go for the top of the line, but they're $8,000 all said and done. So I'm going to the DN5s, the silver engraved ones, because my goal is to compete in P-Rock, which was one of my goals back in the day that I never fulfilled. So it's like sort of a bucket list. I don't need to win. I don't need to come in first place. I'd like to. That would be awesome. But I just want to stand in front of judges and play P-Rock because I love P-Rock. My brother does not love P-Rock. He actually doesn't like it at all. But that's my goal. So I'm hoping to do that next year if I can clean up my grace notes in time. We'll see. So, but let's start with, first, thank you for coming and joining me and hanging out with me in my kitchen as we talk about bagpipes, and, click the Patreon if you want to, and you want to support this effort to get these David Nail pipes for competition season. I suspect I'll get them anyway, but yeah, I'm hoping that I get them. And thank you. Thank you for just hanging out with me. So let's see if I can do some magic here and show you Paul's meme. So I think I was pretty successful at doing the putting Paul's meme in there. So it cracks me up because literally, those pipes, they look like they were gone. And just a little bit of Everclear and a whole lot of elbow grease went into to cleaning them. I'm still so surprised he didn't need some kind of shot after he was done. So, I'm a goal-driven person. That is who I am. So, I decided I was going to get back into this, and I'm an all-or-nothing kind of person. So, and that's definitely something that's more, that has developed with me as I've grown older. I'm in it or I'm not. So, I said, okay, I can play these. I want to be in it. So I started practicing on my porch and in my yard. My hikers that stay at my house, get to listen to little concerts. And my one neighbor, Palmerton, where I live, is a very, very small town. So everybody kind of knows each other. They know me as the Red Cross lady. They know me as the hiker lady. So, my neighbor who works at my doctor's office was like, wow, you really, you didn't need to learn to scale or anything. And I said, no, I played before, and I'm coming out of retirement. So, it's not perfect playing. I know it's not perfect, but I am, carrying on tunes, and, they sound like they sound like tunes. So, so fortunately I haven't had to torture my neighbors. One of my favorite stories from when Paul and I were kids, Paul played first, and Paul's a better piper than I am. He has always been a better piper than I am, than I was and am. So when we were growing up, he used to practice his pipes in my parents' bedroom, which is at the front of the house. And we lived across from a little tiny corner store that sold milk and cigarettes and candy and stuff. And there was an elderly British woman who lived down the street named Mrs. Bennett. And she would come up to the store. There's a lady there at work there named Peggy. And everybody knew Peggy because Peggy was the only person that worked there. And Mrs. Bennett came up to the store and she said, Peggy, in a British accent, which I can't do. She said, Peggy, I think I'm dying. And Peggy said, why, Mrs. Bennett? And she said, well, every day at 7 o'clock, I hear Amazing Grace. I think I'm dying. And Peggy laughed and said, no, Polly Ritter's playing the bagpipes now. So we have a tradition in our family of, entertaining our neighbors with bagpipes. So the agreement I have with my neighbors, they all like bagpipes. They actually come out on the porch. And this past 2 weeks, because I've been practicing for Celtic Classic and I've been away practicing in other places, they were very sad that I wasn't outside because I kind of have them trained. I started off playing like 1 or 2 tunes, and now I'm playing like 45 minutes to an hour, sets. And but I always end with Amazing Grace because that's Mrs. Brown's favorite. Mrs. Brown lives right across the street, and that's her favorite. And then they know that when I play Amazing Grace, that then I'm done. And we have an agreement that I won't play before 9 o'clock in the morning, with the exception of 9/11, because I play at 8:26. And our fire department's 2 doors down, so I played there for 9/11. But I don't play before 9, and I don't play after 9 at night. So we have that agreement. I don't play in the house because my cats don't really, one cat likes it, one cat doesn't. So I don't really play in the house. I like to play on my porch, and I can play out there no matter what the weather is. So, so I wanted to set some goals. I wanted to, I'm a goal-driven person, and I like to set, set myself a little bar to reach. And so my first goal was to blow them up. My second goal was to play a tune. And then I thought, well, what's my goal? So, when I went to Mackay pipe practice, my goal was to learn their tunes, which are largely unfamiliar to me because it's an Irish-Scottish pipe band. So a lot of the tunes are Irish, and we didn't play them in Liberty or in Lehigh Valley. So there's a lot of things, like I never played Gary Owen before. I didn't know that. I didn't play Wearing of the Green before. So I had to download all that music, and they use Bagpipe Player, which is great, like in some ways, but it plays exactly what you've inputted. So the person who arranged the music for Mackay years ago, this one of the jerky teenagers that was mean to me in high school, Drew, so he didn't do it correctly. So when it plays, when the Bagpipe Player, when you press the play button, they don't sound the way that the band plays them. And I couldn't print out the music in the right way because it doesn't, even if you convert it to PDF, it still doesn't print correctly. So it makes it huge, and I fiddled a lot with the printer to try to get these things to print, and they didn't print correctly. Like one song, which I love, is like 4 pages long with the way that it prints out, which makes it impossible to play it on my pipes because I can't flip the pages, and I didn't have a music stand. So that was a little bit of a challenge. And so, for that band, I do a lot of watching them and playing from watching. But as I was telling another piper tonight, like the problem with learning that way, which is my brother doesn't read music. He plays all from ear. And when you play off of other people, like you pick up their bad habits. So if they're missing a tarlua, or if they're putting, a burl in where there shouldn't be one, like you're going to pick that up because you're watching their fingers. So it's important to play the notes that are written on the page. And then, in competition, if you're giving the music to the judges, they're going to expect to see the grace notes on the page or the embellishments that you're doing. So, but that was my first goal, was like learn their music. And so I've had mild success with it. I mean, much better now. I'm only 6 months out, and I know all of their tunes, but I have this block for Old Rustic Bridge. I can play it on my chanter. I can play it along with Bagpipe Player. I can play it on my pipes with the music, but I can't play it on my pipes without the music, and I don't know why. I know the tune. I can do it. I can play it. But for whatever reason, when they play, I don't know if it's that they play it faster than that goes on Bagpipe Player, or if it's just and I like the tune. It's like, I don't like Scots Wha Hae. I'm sorry if you love Scots Wha Hae. I don't like Scots Wha Hae, but I can play that tune. So it's not that I have a block against it, or even that I can't play tunes I don't like, because I do like Old Rustic Bridge. It just, I don't know why, I just can't get it out on pipes. So that was my first goal. And then when I started going to Celtic United, they have a much bigger catalog of tunes. So, and we had a concert coming up. So that was a goal, like learn all the tunes for the concert. And then one of my favorite personal goals was, there is a tune written by my teacher, Scott Walker, called Epic, that he was writing when I was in the band 100 years ago. And it has firsts and seconds, and it's a really awesome tune. It's fun to play. It sounds awesome. It's got a great drum line. It's a great crowd pleaser. And I always played the melody line, but the interesting line is the seconds. But the seconds are kind of hard because there's grace notes and it's real fast. So my personal goal, the pipe major, Gene, had asked me if I would play seconds because they needed more people to play seconds on that tune. And so I was excited because I got to play seconds, and I'm like, but am I up to playing seconds on this tune? So, and it's not just the notes on the page, it's how the other people play the seconds and how the people play the firsts, which is always a trick. Like, one thing I do fondly remember about playing before with my brother is that we would play funerals and stuff, and he would always play seconds and I would play melody, and we just knew how to listen to each other, and I think that's a challenge in a big band, when you have multiple people playing seconds, because I don't, there's some kind of formula, like one person playing seconds to every 10 pipers or whatever, I don't know what it is, but in a song like Epic, you have a few more people playing it, but you do have to listen to the melody line and make sure that you're playing together, and then the drums have to, in this particular tune, also listen. So, but it's a lot of fun to play. So learning that tune and playing that was, a goal that I had set for myself. And for whatever, like my grace notes are coming back, and I'm much more careful about my Tarluas, and they're cleaner. They're getting cleaner. Like, I do really work at it every single day. I keep my tuner with me all the time. I play when I have breaks. When I take my screen breaks from the computer, I'll play on my tuner. And I do work on these things. I'm working on bringing my fingers down so that I'm not, Matt calls it hungry hippo with the flying hands. So I'm constantly practicing those things, and I'm constantly working on them. But I really, I really wanted to play seconds for Epic because it was a true full circle for me, and it's a lot of fun to play. But I have other goals, like what's my next goal? Like, what am I going to do next? So I really want to, we played in the concert, which is a lot of fun. Marching, I've marched in a few parades now, which, I forgot how hard it is to walk uphill and play bagpipes. I'm not as athletic as I was, 22 years ago, before having two babies in a year. My younger baby turned, 19 today, so my boys are 19 together till November, and I can't believe I'm old enough to have 19-year-olds, and I can't believe they're 19 because really they're just 4 years old, flying around in Superman and Larry Boy costumes. So now I'm setting new goals. So I really wanted, I definitely wanted to play, play out at different events, because I do think, bagpipes do add, to weddings and funerals and events and things like that. So I've played quite a few of those, like 9/11 events and veterans events here. And I've done some of my own events where I've just put on our local Facebook page, like when the soldiers were killed in Kabul. I just went up to our Veterans Memorial and I just posted it on our Facebook page and said, I'll be there at noon, because I work from home 3 days a week and I work on campus 2 days a week. So I said, I'll be up there over my lunch break. And, I didn't have my kilt on or anything like that, but I really wanted to play for the mothers of, mother to mother, to the mothers of the soldiers that were killed. So one of the goals I had set for myself was to, during my retirement, 9/11 happened. And there was a tune written called 343 The Fallen. It was written by a Piper firefighter in New York to remember the 343 firefighters who died on 9/11. And they did a fundraiser where you could purchase the music, and the money went to the Firemen's Fund, or the Firefighters Fund. And so I bought the music, and I said, and at that point I was like, I'm never going to play bagpipes again, but I wanted to support the effort, and it's a beautiful tune. And so I purchased it, and, never thinking I'd ever use it, but I said to myself, well, if I ever do play bagpipes again, I am going to learn that tune first. And I did. That's the first tune I learned, and that is the tune. I play that tune every single day. I tune up with it most of the time, and then if I play out for, military or police events, I always play, they always ask for Amazing Grace, and then I play Amazing Grace, and I play The Fallen. because it is just a beautiful, beautiful tune. So, so that was a goal. So I've been setting these little goals, and so now I need a big goal, right? So I've had a concert, I've done parades, we went to Celtic Fest. Like, I've really had this great 6 months of coming back to this hobby. I have so much more to learn, and I'm working hard on the things I need to learn. So what's my bigger plan? Like, what is the bigger plan? And the bigger plan, one of the things that I regret is that I never competed as a soloist when I was younger, and that's because I didn't practice enough, and I knew that. Like, I knew that I wasn't going to ever, I wasn't going to be able to compete, because I was on the swim team, and I was on the diving team, and I did all these things, so I wasn't going to have the time to put into practicing enough to compete as a soloist. So, I had always kind of wanted to compete in Pibroch, because I actually love Pibroch. I think it's one of those things you love or hate. My brother hates it. I love it. I'm always, completely impressed when people are playing it. But it requires a lot of dedication, a lot of steady breathing, and those things are all coming back to me now. My breathing is not steady yet. If you have any good recommendations for how to practice it, right now I've just been holding notes to do it, and holding and trying to keep my breath steady. But, like I said, I've been having some issues with the drones. And I can feel that my breathing isn't steady. So I've been working on that. So if you have any tips, not ticks, tips, if you have tips, put them in the comments below. So that's my goal. My goal is to compete in, Pibroch. I'm not completely sure what the grading levels are. I know one of them is Channer, which I don't want to compete on. I want to compete on pipes. So I think that's grade 3, maybe it's grade 4. So that is my goal for next year, I don't need to win. I would love to win. I'm not really all that competitive as a person. I would just like the opportunity to do it, and, to kind of, check it off my bucket list as something that I've tried. My Hardies are not built for solo playing. In fact, we discovered at this past weekend, my brother's like, "Hey dude, your bass drone is kind of crooked. It's kind of warped." And that's probably from being submerged in water. So, they sound fine and they sound great in a band, but they're meant for playing in a band. So, I really want my own set of pipes that I can play as a soloist. And, I have always been in love with, David Nail bagpipes. There's a lot of great, McCallum's were invented while I was gone, and they're great bagpipes. Like, they're great. And I have McCallum Channers that I just bought, one for each band, because they tune very differently, with separate reeds for each band, because they tune very differently. But, for my own playing, I would like, and if I'm going to play bagpipes, I'm right now in the process of buying a stand of Sinclair's, from somebody who's retiring from piping, so that I can practice on those. But the goal is to save up to buy my own set of, David Nail pipes. So my brother, I was like, people are like, do a GoFundMe. I'm like, I don't do GoFundMe. I don't have time for that nonsense. I did a GoFundMe for a family that was a victim of a fire. It was such a pain in the rear end. No. And, and I thought, like, and a GoFundMe is like, I don't know, it's like trick-or-treating in the cyber world for cash, and I'm a libertarian. I don't want to do all that. So my brother's like, well, you should do this podcast thing. You should talk about coming back to bagpiping. I'm like, who would in the world wants to listen to me blabber on about coming back to bagpiping? But we'll see. And, if nothing else, it's a great tribute to him. But it's a little bit therapeutic to talk about, getting back into this hobby. I had gotten away from hiking too. I'm a big time long distance hiker, and I backpack and hike all over the place, and that's part of my health, sort of my health goals, and because I'd gained a lot of weight over the course of my adult life, and I'm down a lot of weight, and I'm still overweight, so I'm still working on it. It's something I work at it every single day. Now it goes slower than it did in the beginning. And so, these are just goals that I have. And so the little goals, the little milestones, I've learned over the course of my career, to make sure that you set these tiny little goals that are achievable, right? So blowing up the goose, adding the drones, playing a tune, practicing every day, learning the Fallen, going from playing for 10 minutes a day to now being able to play for 45 minutes, nonstop. I have to play nonstop because the way my drones kick in, it's such a pain in the butt that it's just easier for me to hold an E and turn the page. So I play a solid 45 minutes at a clip when I was practicing the concert tunes for Celtic United. And just having these little goals, that builds up to where I want to be, which is competing in P-Brock next year. If the world opens up, because I'm not even sure where you compete in P-Brock in the Eastern United States. I don't even know which Celtic festivals ran this year and which ones of those even have P-Brock competitions. So I guess I'll have to figure all that out and learn again what I remember there was like a piping magazine, a Piping Times or something like that, and there's like the Pipe Band Association, and I think I'd have to register with them as a solo player because my two bands that I'm in aren't competition bands. And I don't know that I want to be in a competition band, to be honest. I like being in street bands because they're a lot of fun. Competition bands are a lot of stress, and God bless the pipe majors who want to put up with all that. But if you're a soloist, the only person you're going to mess up is yourself. I wouldn't want to be the person. My brother and I talk about this. Like, I don't want to be the person who messes up the whole thing for the whole band. Like, if I screw up my own gig, then that's on me. So these are my goals. So my goal is to compete in P-Brock, and hopefully the journey is interesting and exciting. I'll be talking in the next episode about some of the music. Some of the tools that I've found. I'll talk a little bit about my pipe instructor, Matt Willis. I'll talk about this very nice man who reached out to me because of this video, who gave me some great resources from the College of Piping, which I did not know was no longer in Scotland. It is in Canada. The College of Piping was merged with something else, and so I don't know what it is now, but I remember that you used to be able to go to like piping like institutes around. I think there were 2 in the U.S. I don't know if that exists anymore. Because now my parents could never afford to send my brother and I to that kind of stuff. So my dad was a steel worker, our mom was an at-home mom. So we didn't have the money for that kind of thing. So I never had any opportunities to go to stuff like that. But now I could go if I don't even know if they let adults go to that stuff. Maybe that stuff's only for kids. I have no idea. So I'm going to keep setting goals. And the takeaway from this podcast or from this episode is that, again, you can do things that you think you can't. But 2, like the way that you do it is by setting little goals that you can achieve so that you feel good about those goals while being realistic about what needs to be improved, right? So I know, when you're younger, you're not as willing to admit that you need help with A, B, or C. Now I'm like, hey, I need help. I don't know how to, I don't know how to work on my Tarluas. That's, Matt Willis has great resources on the Tarluas. And really at the end of the day, what you need to do is you need to sit down with your chanter and play Tarluas until your fingers want to fall off. That is the best way to learn them. Because I have to replace the bad habits that I learned years ago and the sloppy playing that I played. So I have to reprogram that muscle memory. And that's very difficult because I'm 48. I'm not 18. So, but I'm much more conscious of it. So working on things every day. I alternate between playing my chanter and my pipes just depending on what I have going on, if I have Red Cross or if I have Girl Scouts. But I play my chanter at least every single day and work on things during lunch break, and I work on things like between meetings. Sometimes if I need a break from the screen, I'll play some tunes. I've been hammering at Old Rustic Bridge because my goal is to play it tomorrow night at pipe practice without hating the music. So anyway, takeaway is set yourself small goals. Small goals lead to big things. And so thank you for joining me. You can click the Patreon below and support this great effort, or not. Doesn't matter. I would appreciate it, but it's okay if you don't. And I look forward to seeing you in the next episode. All right, peace.